So in this tutorial, we will create a simple Shopify app, and here I am with a standard installation of Laravel, and with the version PHP, if I run PHP artisan version, then yeah, I'm using Laravel version 8.83, but at the time you are watching this video, if the version gets updated, please feel free to work with the latest version. So what I will do here is I will run PHP artisan config cache to clear up any kind of configuration that we might have, and after that I will run PHP artisan migrate. So we have our basic migrations that comes pre-packaged with Laravel, and we have run that. And let's see in MySQL workbench, yeah, we have our tables right here. So the first thing we have to do to create our Shopify app is to create a partners account, which is pretty easy to create. It is free to sign up, and you can do it on partners.shopify.com. So here you can click on join now, and then you can go through the registration process and you can complete it. After that, we can go to this apps sub menu right here, and here I have my app already created, but you can create your own by clicking on this create app button. And let's check out the details of this. So it is currently not published, and I have named it my public app, as I don't intend to publish this. But if you are working on a real app, then you should name it the name you want, a professional one. So here we have our app credentials, which is pretty important. What we will do, we will take this over to our env file, and we will create this installation API key. Holds this, and then we can take the secret key and we can paste it here. Shopify API secret. Yeah, so this is done. So let's create some migrations and let's create some controllers. Let's write some code. So before I do that, first I want to check whether I have created my model. So I will do prepare make model store. This store model will represent a store object of the Shopify store. So here I am creating this model right here, and in models folder, here it is with the user model, and the migration is also here. So now we have to decide what columns we want to put in the stores table. And keep in mind, guys, this is totally custom implementation. I will be taking everything into consideration that I could think of, and there will be no libraries involved in the installation flow and the API calling flow. So there are libraries out there on GitHub which will help you out with these things. They come with pre-compiled code in them, so just import those packages and do it as you wish. But if you would like to have manual control, then this is where I am focusing right here. So here I can see that for stores table we have table ID column. We will change that. So I'll do big increments, and I'll do table ID here. So table ID will be the column which will be auto increment, and it will be the primary key. I don't think add a primary index. Yeah, there it is. So let's figure out which other columns we need for our stores table. So for that, I will open up the Shopify API reference. I will click on the REST admin API. We will go on GraphQL API later, but for now we will focus on this. So here we can see that Shopify already provides the client library for PHP applications. You can use it, but for this tutorial we won't be looking at that. So let's go to the stores object. Let me just Google it right here. Shopify store API. Yep, that's not it. Shopify store JSON. Yeah. Yes, here it is. So here we see some properties that Shopify provides. What's that? Okay, remove that. So here we see the shop resource where we can see all kinds of the attributes and the values that Shopify provides us. So what we can do is we can take these values and create the equivalent column for our tables. So if it says address 1 here, then we will keep it as it is and we will add it here in our migration. So table arrow string address 1 nullable. I keep everything nullable because if you keep things nullable in the table itself, then at the time of updating or creating rows, if you miss out on some values, it won't cause a problem. So I will do address 2 nullable, then I will do table. Let's not worry about the order of the thing here, order of the columns. I will set it when I get there. Okay, so now I will take the ID, which is the official ID that Shopify assigns to every stores. So I will keep this. I see it is a number here, so I can keep it as an integer. And mind you, because this ID is coming from Shopify, that is why I kept it as table ID. Latitude, longitude is not needed for this tutorial, so I'll be skipping over that. But this my Shopify domain is important because Shopify stores have this property on their backend, so they can identify which store it is. So for example, you will have your store company.myshopify.com, but you can refactor it to another string, which can just say shop.com. So that's how Shopify maps it. So then we can take the name, table, arrow, string, name, nullable. After that, we can say phone. It says null, so I don't know what kind of value it will give, so that's why I kept it as string. Phone numbers do not need to be strictly integer. So taxes included, time zone updated at wait image zip. Let's take zip into consideration. That might come in handy later. So let me take this right here and put it here. Okay, so now we have some kind of order. Our table ID will be the primary key of the table. Then we have ID, then we have my Shopify domain, then we have name, phone, and etc. Let's put name above. Yeah. One other column that I will add here is the access token column. Why I'm doing that is because for the third-party API calls, every store needs to have an API token that Shopify provides from the Auth flow. So that we want to save for every store that we install our app to. That will be unique for each store. And for each app, the access token is provided only one time. When you update it, the previous API token that you had in your database goes invalid. So that's why you need to make sure that the access token that you have is currently valid and doesn't return a 401 unauthorized error. So now that we have it, I think this part is done. So let's create a simple plans table. Make model plan. I create the migration for it. And in this migration, I will take this ID as it is because this is the plans table which will determine what kind of plans my app offers, and I'll be controlling everything here. So nothing taken from Shopify here. I will define it on the app level right here. So later I will create a seeder for it also. So we will put name here. I want the name and float price nullable and then I'll say table arrow uh, string. I can say tiny integer status default true. Yep. And then I can say uh, so name, price, and status is fine for now. I do realize that each plan will have its own set of features that we will provide to the app. But right now, since we haven't decided on it, when we do get there, I will add those columns in a new migration. And yeah, so let's go ahead. So let's go ahead and run PHP artisan migrate. Through an error, multiple primary key define, all table stores, add primary key, table ID. Okay, so I think this 8 increments is enough right here. Okay, maybe I need to drop the stores table, drop table stores, and then I can run again. Yeah, there it is. So let's see DSC stores. So these are the columns I have. Table ID is the primary key that will go from 0, 1, 2, 3 and so on, and these are the other columns that I'm expecting. Okay, so this is done. What else do we need? So we have our plans table also. Plans. So here we have name, price, status, and all that. So we'll get to it later, but let's now jump on to the installation flow. How you will make the store, make your app installable to a Shopify store. So here we have store. This is a hack that I use. I do protected guarded equals blank. So I don't have to do the fillable thing, but if you insist on keeping a fillable array, then please do it. That is good practice, but I am just skipping over it here. So we have our user thing right here, and in plan, I'll do the same thing. Yeah. So now let's create a Shopify controller which will handle all the logic for installing our app. Make controller installation controller. So here we have our controller. Yeah, here it is. So now we need to set some configurations. So we will go to config and we'll go to app, and I can say my public app. Then I can say env is local, and then I can say no, I'll leave it back to production. We can set our app URL at a later time, and that's it. So let's go to the installation flow right here. Yeah. So how the installation flow works in for Shopify apps is they will hit your app with certain, sorry, let me rewind here. So when somebody clicks install app on the Shopify App Store, so let me apps.shopify. Yeah. So let me open up any app that is currently on the App Store. So when you click the Add App button, what happens is it will fire a request to your application URL with certain parameters in a GET request. So it will look something like this. Laravel Shopify.test, which is my Laragon given name, and it will say, let's say we define Shopify slash auth, and this will be a get URL, and here you will have shop name equals something and HMAC equals something and timestamp equals something. So this is the kind of URL you have to expose to your application. It will be an open URL where you will receive the initialization point where it could be determined that whether you already have this app installed in your database or not. So let's expose this URL right here. If you are confused at this point, don't worry, it will be clear pretty soon. So let me delete this route dot prefix. I'll do Shopify route. Okay. Installation controller class, and I can say start installation. Yeah. Notice that I haven't provided any kind of middleware because I want this URL to be exposed to the real world, and I don't want any kind of problems in this middleware at this point. In this route, I mean. So our route will be slash Shopify slash auth. Let me comment this out. Here it is. So this is the signature, and this is the URL that I'm trying to expose to the real world. Now this URL should match your app in your partner's account. So when you go to your app, then in the app setup page, yes, right here. So here's your app URL. Obviously, you have to use an HTTPS URL, but here you have to put Shopify slash auth. So assuming that you have a domain mypublicapp.com, you would need to expose this endpoint right here, and it should match it. So here I have said Shopify slash auth. So here also it should say Shopify slash auth. This is the endpoint. So let's define this function right here. Public function this, and it will accept a request object right here. Yeah. So in this function, we are trying to determine that the parameters that we have received, whether it is already installed in our app or not. So there will be three things here: new installation, reinstallation. So what happens is, let's say any store installed your app, and now you have their record in your database, but later that store deleted your app. So even though the app doesn't exist on their store, but you have a record in your database. So in the event that they install your app again, so that's when we say that store is reinstalling your app. And the third event is opening the app. So this is the case where the store is already installed your app, and they just want to are trying to access it. So all three things we have to handle in this right here in this function. So what I will do try and catch exception. So I'll do log info get message. So in my logs, I will have the error messages in case this function fails. Let's add the log facade right here. Yeah. So first I have to check whether the request is valid or not. So I will do if valid equals this arrow validate request from Shopify, and I will do request arrow all. So in this function that I will define later, what I'm doing is I'm taking all request parameters and I'm sending it to this function, and I'm trying to determine whether this is a valid request or not. Because we have this URL exposed to the open world, that means anybody can hit this URL with their data, but it needs to be valid. So how Shopify achieves this is that they send an HMAC parameter in the request. So you would have to sign it in your end, on your app end, and then you can determine through some functions that yeah, this request is valid and all the other requests are not. So if valid, then yeah. So valid request equals this. Then we will proceed. Otherwise, it will throw new exception. Request is not valid. Yeah. So then we need to check if the shop name parameter is in the request or not. So then we can say shop equals request as shop. So this is the parameter that we are looking for. If not, sorry, if shop, then proceed. Otherwise, throw new exception. Shop parameter not present in the app. Yeah. So only then we will check that if the shop is already present in our database or not. So then we can say check store exists equals get store by name first arrow shop. Yeah. So then we can say if check store exists, if it is true, so then that means that the store is already there, and then we can determine whether they want to. So then that means store record exists, and now determine whether the access token is valid or not. If not, then forward them to the installation flow. If yes, then redirect them to the login page. Yeah, right here. So this comment should help you understand what I'm trying to do. So then I can say valid access token equals check if access token. Oh, I'm sorry. This shouldn't be renamed. Store details, I should say. Store details. So I can say if store details not equal to null and store details not equal to false, then that means we have our store details in the database. Excuse me. Check if access token is valid. So then I can say the store details object, I'll send it to this function, and this will tell me if valid access token is valid for Shopify API calls. So redirect them to the login page. Else token is not valid, so redirect the user to the reinstallation phase. Yeah. So this function will take care of every kind of scenario that can happen here. So here I can say check if shop parameter exists on the request. So let's define these functions. I can save it here, and then I can say PHP artisan cache. Yep. So let me put this print statements. So here in the valid token part, and I will do an exit here just to show you guys where the code will reach at each point of the testing. So for these placeholder that I have created, we will put some code here later. Here in the not token valid part. Yeah. Then here we can say throw new exception. Oh, I'm sorry. In this part, we won't throw an exception because here we are trying to find the store details in the database through this function. So if it doesn't exist in this database, then that definitely means that the new installation flow should be carried out. Yeah. So then I can say print r new installation begins here. Then I can exit out right here. So I'm exiting out in these parts right here just to show this function's functionality. So these comments I have explained you already. Okay, so let's do that. So first of all, let's define this function, and we can say private function. Yeah, then I can just say that I have a request object that I'll receive here, and I'll just say return true. How this validation will be carried out, I will get to it later, but for now let's skip it and let's just say that this will return true every time. So then we can say request has shop, and if it exists then we are going to go ahead, otherwise we can just throw an exception that shop parameter is not present in the request. Yeah, so let's test this much out. Optimize. I run the optimize command because it does multiple things for me. It clears configuration, it clears the route configuration, and it caches some files. So let's go here, and then we can just, okay, so the base URL is not found. So I can say Shopify /auth. So here it is. Here we got thrown this kind of thing, which is an expected output of DD function that I have put right here. So every time I throw an exception, it is caught right here, and this prints out the entire thing of the exception. So I can also say get line. So this will also tell me which line. So line number 39 it originated from. So here it is. Shop parameter is not present in the request. So then I can say shop equals demo store dot my shopify.com. Oh, I'm sorry. I need to say get store by name. So for this function, what I will do here is I will create a traits folder in the app folder right here, and I will offset this function there. So let's make this traits, and I will put a new file here, which I will name it function trait.php. So what this will do is this will contain some functions that the controllers can share. So right now we have only one controller, installation controller, but as our app progresses, we will have multiple controllers, and those controllers may require some kind of common functionality that they can share throughout the controller space. So that is why I've created this function trait right here. So this will carry out this purpose of containing common functions that can be used throughout. So I can do namespace, app, yeah. Then I can say trait, function trait, and now I can define the functions. So let's do this. Get stored by name. I'm sorry, I should say get stored by domain. Public function, yeah, and I will pass a shop parameter here. So then I will say returns to where my Shopify domain is equal to shop first. So this is the query I will run. Under the store model, I will check for the my Shopify domain column, and this value will be returned, and we will receive only one row here. So that is why I don't have to do any count thing right here. So right here it is done. So then I can define this function access token is valid. So you might be wondering why I created this validate request from Shopify function here itself, because the process of validating Shopify's request is only valid under the installation flow. And since we are putting all the installation code here itself, so I thought maybe create the function here, and installation controller will only use it. The other controllers will have their own purposes and they won't need this function. That is why. So let's define this function. Check if access token is valid. So right here, we can also define this function right here. Private function, yeah, store details. So here I have assumed that I will receive, yeah. So here I've assumed that I will receive a database row that will have its token. So I can say token equals store details arrow access token, and then I can write some code here that will use the Guzzle library to fetch the shop object from Shopify API. If it succeeds with 200 status, then that means it is valid, and we can return true. If any kind of exception happens, whether it is 422 or whether it is 429 or whether it is 401 unauthorized status, then what we can do is simply return false right here, and we are done. Return false. Oh, I'm sorry, return true. So we can wrap this in this right here. If store details not equal to null and store details arrow access token. Oh, I'm sorry. We can wrap this under the isSet function and strlen store details arrow access token is greater than 0. That means we are just making sure that the access token is there and it is length more than 0. Then we will do some things here, yeah, right here, and then we can just say return true. And if it's not, then we can just return false right here. Okay. So then we can me put this above right here. Yeah. So I'm sorry. Yeah, so let's run this once again. Oh, I'm sorry, I need to keep the same. Oh, I'm sorry. I need to do use function trait right here. So now it will recognize that this trait exists, and we have imported this into this right here. Oh, I have to do traits. Yeah, now we have sorted out this problem. Yeah, so now we say new solution begins here. So I mean, it's obvious that if I run select star from stores at this point, there is nothing here. So obviously it will assume that new solution will begin here. Okay, so now let's look at the flow where we install a new store. So for that, we need the verify HMAC function, which I have searched on the Stack Overflow website, and I have only put on Shopify HMAC verification PHP. And one of the functions that worked for me is right here, where they have a simple implementation of the function right here. So I'm going to copy this code and I will paste it right here. Validate request from Shopify. So let's refactor this a little so it looks nice. So first thing I want to do is I will wrap it in the try catch block. So I'll take this whole thing and I'll paste it here. Okay, sorry. So let's paste it right here. Yeah. So then first thing happening is they are defining a variable, then they're taking the HMAC and then removing it from the request. So I will be seeing, yeah, I will replace this right here because I'm getting the request object here. So I'll take the HMAC and I'll unset it, and after that as key value I'll loop over it and I'll assign it to the array. After that it is this, and then your app secret key. So here we can do config custom.shopify API secret. Now let's create this custom config file. So all we have to do is right click on config, we can click new file, we can do custom.php, and that's it. So Shopify API secret, I'll say env, I'm sorry, Shopify API secret, or the default value. I'll copy it from here. Oh, I'm supposed to put, yeah, and that's it. So just a return array, and that is it. So let me create one also for Shopify API key, because that we will use in the next step. env Shopify API key. or the default value we will use is this value right here. Yeah. So now that we have our custom file right here, so then yeah, we can do false. So there is some hash HMAC verification going here, and if it matches, then we can say return true, or we can just directly say return this. Yeah, and we can say log info problem with verifying HMAC from request, and then we can say log info arrow get line. Oh, I'm sorry. First the message, and then get line, and we can also say return false, because if any exception happens in this step, we don't want to return true here. And yeah, we will make it exactly equal to HMAC. Join a function, I should say implode, because that is a PHP function. Separator is this, yeah, and array. Yeah, okay, this seems good. So now we have two statements right here. So yeah, this should be good. So now right away we can check it out. We can do PHP artisan optimize. Then we can go here. And previously when it said the instruction begins here, now it should throw an error. Request is not valid at line number 41. Sorry. Yeah. So now it says request is not valid, and we have to provide a valid HMAC right here. So let's check it out if some errors got thrown. So we will simply check it out. Laravel log problem with verifying HMAC from request undefined index HMAC. So obviously the HMAC is not there because I haven't provided it, and we can say HMAC equals something. So this is not valid either. So it will say request is not valid 41. Okay. So I'll delete the log file. Close it out. So now that we have our validate request function running and we are checking if shop parameters is there, and now let's work on, yeah, we defined this function, and now let's work on is check access token is valid. So let me just move this over, let me move this function to the function trait itself. No, I'll keep it right here, because that is where I wanted to introduce a new trait, which would be, I will name it as request trait. The reason I did this is because in this file I want to put all the functions that are relating to the third-party API calls. So we can use the curl library, we can use the Guzzle library, and many other libraries that are there. But I want all of those utilization functions to be right here in this file. So you can say namespace app slash traits trait request trait. Yeah. Okay, so let's define a function right here. Public function make an API call to Shopify. So in this I will pass the URL params equals null, because not all API requests need get parameters in the request, and I can say headers. We do need headers because in that header we will provide the X Shopify access token header, which so let me provide this comment right here, headers. So this will look like this: content type application JSON, and then we need X Shopify access token value. So these two headers need to be there. Only then you will have a successful third-party API call from Shopify side. So I will do this try catch here, return none. And let's install the Guzzle library. So composer install Guzzle. So we can copy it from here and we can run it right here. Okay, I think Guzzle is already here. So we can say response equal new client. Yeah, so for that first we need to put an options here, so we can just check it out how it works. I'll go with the simple version here where it just says client request this. Let's define this. Yeah. So then I can say return status code response array status code. Yeah. And the body response get body. Yeah, these two functions I'm taking for now. If I need any more, we'll look into that later. Um, Instead of this null, we can do status code, yeah, get code. Get message and body null. Yeah, so that will ensure that I will only receive a standardized version so of this array. Yeah, right here. I think this looks good. So okay, so make an API call from Shopify. So first thing I will do is the method equals get. So this is the method that I'm assuming it will be. So let's replace this out method, and I will put the URL here. But the headers is something that I need to check in the documentation. Oh, it's the third one. Third parameter. Okay, so I'll copy this right here and I'll put this here, and in the headers I can just say that these are the headers I want to pass. URL and params is null. Okay, maybe we need to do a switch thing right here. Switch method case get. So we can do, and we can also do request body was null. So I'm taking this request body for post requests, and we have to send a body to the API call, and the params for the get request, because we can define the URL params here. Maybe I should rename it as URL params. Yeah. So in case get, I'll do response equals null, and here. So let's only handle get cases for now. When it comes to post requests or break put or patch requests, then we'll see what happens there. Yes, it looks good here. Yeah. So this is an example of why I kept the Guzzle code in this separate file, because libraries will change, or the certain method signatures can change, or the configurations can change over time as the app progresses. But I want everything to stay in one place, whether it should be function based. So we have this one function right here in this request state. If there's any other library that we want to use, for example, SOAP API calls or XML based API calls, then we will put all those right here in this file. So it stays here and it's easy to maintain. So go through this code and let me know if any questions are there, and please mention the timestamp on where you're having the doubt so I can respond to it. Okay, so token is this. So let me define an endpoint right here. Yeah, check if access token is valid. Access token, so store details is there. Yeah. So endpoint will be okay. So at this point, I do need a helper function that I can offset some functions to. So for that purpose, I will use Brown's 12 helpers package. So I will do composer install 12 slash helpers. Okay. So maybe it is Brown's 12. Okay. Let me check. Composer install Brown 12. Oh, I'm sorry. I had to do composer require. I just did composer install. Okay, so at this point, let's publish our vendor files. Vendor publish. I'll put 0, and then I'll do config cache, and I'll do PHP optimize. Yeah, there we go. And now it says we have to add this in the providers, so let's do that. In config app PHP, I'll do it on the bottom. I'll run this optimize again, and then I can run PHP artisan make helper. So basically what this will do is these functions that this file will contain, I can call them from anywhere from my app, whether it is jobs, whether it is controllers, whether it is traits, whether it is configurations, anywhere from the Laravel project, I can call these functions. So I want to quickly define a function right here. So let me name this function as get Shopify URL for store. So let me define this function right here. Get Shopify URL for store, and I can say a store object. So I'll do here return https store arrow my Shopify domain. Oh yeah, I need a specific endpoint. So I'll do endpoint store. What happened here? My Shopify domain slash admin slash API slash API version. I forgot to mention that Shopify maintains their API version. So every 6 months or every 3 months, I don't remember exactly, they release a new candidate for the API that we need to keep updating in our application. So yeah, we'll do API version equals, let me check which is the latest API version. Shopify API version. API. I think in this page here itself. Oh, here it is. So they have a stable version and they will tell you until when the API version is valid. So we will pick out 2022-07. Yeah. This right here is I defined it, but ideally it should stay in the configuration. So let's take it from there itself. Yeah, let me move this 2207 to Shopify API version. So in our custom file, I can say Shopify API version equals this. I won't put this in the env because it is not important. Yeah, let's move this. Config custom dot Shopify API version dot this, and then at the end endpoint. Yeah, this should work. HTTPS store of my Shopify admin API config this. Yeah. So let me go back to solution controller and call this function right here. Get Shopify alpha store. It pops up right here, and then I can just say shop.json, and I can send the store object, store details. Yeah. So now I don't have to manually maintain the URL signature. HTTPS my domain. The function will take care of it. So let me define another function right here, for the headers, because I don't want to mention the key X Shopify access token everywhere, because in case Shopify changes it, then I don't want to have to change everywhere in my code. So let's define this function right here. get Shopify headers for store, and I can just send store details in this. So let's define this function in helper.php. Right now you are only seeing these functions get used in the installation controller, but later you will see in multiple controllers in multiple places I will use the helper functions. Yeah. So here I can say turn content type application JSON, and then I can say X Shopify access token is store detail access token. There we go. This will take care of it. So now this index for this header, it will stay here and I will reference it everywhere. So now that I have taken the endpoint and the headers, let's make the API call. Response equals this arrow make. Okay, so I need to put this trait file here. So I will do request trait. There we go. So now this got imported right here, function trait and request trait. So then I can say make a, yeah, there we go. Make an API call to Shopify. I will put get here. I will put the endpoint. URL params I will say null. For the headers, I will send these headers. And the request body, I can send null right here. So I can say turn return response status code equals. So for a successful API call, I think it sends 200 status code. Let's see. We'll log it right here so I can check. Log info response for checking the validity of token. For response. Yeah. Let me put this as a comment. I don't know why it is showing it in red. Anyway, put this as a comment as well. 3 scenarios can happen. Yeah. Oh, that is why. Yeah. So now that we have this new installation function ready, just to validate, we can begin with the OAuth flow. Yeah, new installation begins here. So at this point, what we need to do is we have to form a special URL and we need to just redirect to it. That URL will be the OAuth authorize URL. So if you go to the OAuth flow of Shopify, then there you will see it. Let me see Shopify OAuth flow. So here it is. There they have explained how the OAuth 2.0 works. So first thing is installation request, then redirect to Shopify and request authorization for the merchant, and that's how it goes. It is numbered here, so 1, 2, 3, 4, and that's how it goes. Uh, yeah, here it is. So this is the URL signature of the new installation that you have to do. So it goes as the shop.myshopify.com/admin/auth/authorize. So this is the URL signature that we have to copy. So let's copy all the things right here and let's switch out the values. Yeah, let me comment this out and then we can just say endpoint equals, yeah, right here. So shop.myshopify.com can be replaced here with just request arrow shop. So then we can say admin/auth/authorize/client ID. Now here is the API key that we need to put here. So I can say config custom dot shopify API key and scope. Oh yeah, I forgot about scopes entirely. So scopes are something that needs to be predefined for your app so that Shopify knows and the shipper will know and the Shopify store owner will know that what kind of data your app needs to work with. So it's basically just a string. Let me define this right here. Public scopes is equal to read orders. I will just take the write permissions, because if you take the write operations, then the read operations is included. Write orders and write fulfillments, and we can check the access scopes Shopify. So let's see what are the API access scopes. So here's the list. So read all orders is something that I want to take because maybe that will come in handy later. And the write customers permission, so comma write customers, then read files, read fulfillments. Let's also take the fulfillments right here. Read locations. Oh yeah, I need the read locations to make sure where the warehouses are and keep that information. And we can also take the write products permission because that will grant us all the access to the store's products catalog. Then read themes, write themes. I don't think I'll be working with themes, so I'll put it not I'll not put it. Yeah, so these many scopes are fine. We can also put this in the config file. Let's do that. So let's take this and I'll delete it from here. And in my custom.php, I'll do this. API scopes. Yeah, I will also not put this in the env file, it's not important. So in the installation controller, then I can come back here and I can say, yeah, here's the scopes. Let's replace it with config custom.api scopes. Let me do this a little elegantly. Yeah, So the redirect URL is something that is quite important here. So what happens is when the initial phase is complete, Shopify has completed authorizing the app on its end. It will give you a one-time token that you can use to request an access token from the Shopify store. That token that you will receive at that stage, you will need to save this in the database so that you can make subsequent API calls. If you fail to do that, then it won't work. So let's delete all this. We don't need that. Yeah, and let's keep it this much only. So scope is defined, and we can say route. I want to mention route here. Here, let's see. App install redirect. I will name this route right here. So let's define this route signature here. So I can say route get and whatever it is, let's name it first. Yeah. So let's take this and name it auth redirect, and we can say it will redirect to installation controller pass handle redirect. Yes. So we will do that. Shopify /or/redirect. So for this route signature, we also need to make sure that our app has that. So here in the allowed redirection URL, it just says redirect, which couldn't be. So it will say Shopify /or/redirect. So we will save it here. Yeah. Yeah, this seems good. Yeah, this also seems good. So for quickly, we will run PHP artisan optimize. So now this is right here. Handle redirect, we can just create a function right here, but what we're gonna write for it, we'll look at it later. Quest. Yeah, let's leave it for now. So now that we have our endpoint variable for the new installation, then let's just redirect to it. Return. We will use the redirect facade here to endpoint. Let me just import this. Yeah. Yeah. That's it for the new installation, and yeah, let's test it out. So I will show you that log info new installation for shop quest arrow shop. So that we get to know which shop is getting installed in the logs for the first time. I think it looks good. We can test it out. PHP artisan optimize. One mention that I forgot is Shopify doesn't work with local URLs. So how I have it as a Laravel Shopify.test, I cannot use this URL in these right here. I might have to use ngrok for this. So let's down. Yeah. So now that we have our ngrok running, I can get this HTTPS URL and let's replace it out. So it redirects to my localhost 80. So I'll copy this right here. I'll copy it. Copy I can put it in the app setup. Yeah. So now that we have this right here, now we can continue. So let's go back to the apps page. We have our thing set up, and let's add a store right here. So I'll put development store. I can say Laravel project. Yeah, so after we create our store, let's try to install our app onto it. So here our store is ready to go, and this is what the interface looks like for all Shopify owners. And let's click this I icon, and here it is, laravelproject.myshopify.com. So it doesn't have any theme yet, so there is nothing really to view, but here we are only checking the installation flow. So now that we have our running development store, let's try to install the app on it. So let's check the apps right here. There's only one app, which is advanced cash on delivery. So let's go back to our partners account. Yeah. And let's click on this app, and let's try to install it. Here we have our development store that we just created, and install app. It said it didn't find it. So Shopify/Auth is the problem there. Oh, okay. So localhost 80. Okay. So let me check. Okay. So I was facing a problem with ngrok getting to work with Laragon. So the basic solution is, so in this YML file, you need to put your auth token that you will get from ngrok website and restart Laragon, and that's it. Then you can click on the Laragon icon, right click on it, www, share, and there you can click on your project and it will start the ngrok tunnel right away. So this is what it will look like. Here it is taking this HTTPS URL and redirecting it to my own project. So here I have tested it, and Shopify auth is getting recognized, and it says request is not valid. So let's close these out. Yeah, installation part. And in my partners account, I have updated the URL. So now we can go ahead with testing. So overview, test your app, select store, and there we go. We have to do this. Yeah, the redirect URI is not whitelisted, I'm sorry. So client ID is this, scope is this, and let's see what it took. Oh, it took HTTP, so that shouldn't have been the case. Um, the redirect. Let's see what I put in the redirect URI. So this is HTTPS. So app install redirect. Oh, I should have mentioned HTTPS here. Okay, so let's see this. Yeah, I don't think we can do that. So let me put HTTPS here itself. HTTPS config app.ngrok URL dot slash Shopify slash auth slash redirect. So what I will do, I will create this ngrok URL right here. Map under the env debug. There it is. So ngrok URL, I will keep it right here, and I will copy it from here. There we go. Oh, let's remove this HTTPS. Oh, let's keep it. So then we can do this, config this, and let's slash here. So then we can say Shopify slash auth slash redirect. PHP artisan optimize. So let's try it out once more. Yeah, it all seems good here. Missing Shopify permission, read all orders. Okay, so I think I need to add this to the scopes. So in the custom.php, yeah, I'll start it like that. So let me clear all the caches right here. So hopefully this time it runs. Let me go to overview, select store. Missing Shopify permission, read all orders. I think I put that here. Let's remove this. Let's see what happens. Yeah, here we go. So here it is saying what kind of data it can access, and it says what this app can do in your store. So why is the install app button not coming here? The problem that I was facing when I couldn't get the install app button to work properly is because this app is created 3 years ago. So I talked to the customer support team and they told me that 3 years ago is somewhere where we invalidate the apps. So I think we need to create a new one. So just create app. Okay. So app name, I'll say my second public app. App URL, I will put, let me fire up Laravel, and from here let me share my, yeah, here we go. So I can just say, let me copy it right here, say HTTPS, yeah, Shopify slash auth, and the redirection URL will be the same thing with Shopify slash auth slash redirect. So I think it looks good. So we'll do create app. And now that I have created my new app, I will take the API keys, API secret, and I'll swap it out in the env file as well. And there we go. Now we are done. So I need to also change the ngrok URL, which is right here. Sorry. Yeah. So in the new terminal, I will run PHP artisan optimize, and um, yeah. So let's try installing this app. Store. I will do this transfer disabled store. Yeah, so now we have the install app button here. Now it's working. Okay, so when we click the install app button, what happens is, for this store, Shopify will carry out the installation for this app, and it will hit the redirection URL that we provided in the whitelisted redirection URLs of the app setup. So if you remember in web.php, I put this auth slash redirect signature. This route will be hit by Shopify. So let's define this function. So I first kept it blank. So the first thing I would do is try catch for, yeah, yeah, there we go. So this is another open URL that is exposed to the outside world. So the first thing I want to do is verify the HMAC of this request as well, because Shopify will redirect this route here. So let's use the function that we used before, this validate request thing. So here we go. Valid request equals this, and if it is valid, else throw exception request. is not valid. Yeah. So if validate request is true, then log info. I would want to do JSON encode request at all again, because I want to see what parameters I received in the redirection URL. So I think the URL that I will receive is like this: HTTPS my ngrok URL, ngrok URL / Shopify / auth / redirect. And in the get parameters, I will receive a code parameter. Inside there will be a code, and there will be a timestamp, and inside that there will be a timestamp. And let's check it out on their documentation. What happens? Overflow. Next step, this link right here. Yeah, there we go. So example.org, some redirect URI, which is equivalent to our ngrok auth / redirect URL. So we will get these parameters in the in the get in the URL parameters. So the first thing is code, then there is the HMAC used for validation, then there will be the host, it will be a base encoded host name, then the shop parameter and the state and the timestamp. So we are interested in the code parameter, the HMAC parameter and the shop parameter, because what happens is we need the code parameter, and this will be an authorization code which will work only one time, in which you have to use this code to make another call to get a permanent access token. So you'll see. So as I said before, we are interested in this parameter code, HMAC and shop. So let's put a simple check. Let me delete this out. If request has shop and request has code and request, oh, we don't want to use the HMAC validation here because we already did that in this function right here. So if it has these two parameters, it has to have it. So then we can say throw new exception code / shop param not present in the URL. So then we will do shop equals request shop and code equals request code. Now we have taken these two function variables. So after we get our code, let's now request an access token from Shopify. So on their documentation, yeah, this is the URL that they asked us to make a post request where they will assign us an access token. Now, this access token we have to save in the database in the same record as we create our store. Okay. So, okay. Access token equals this request access token from Shopify for this store. So we will send shop and code. Now, when we have the access token, now we can request Shopify for the shop JSON object, and we can form a payload and we can save it in our database. So let's do that. So if access token is not equal to false and access token is not equal to null, excuse me. So we can do throw new exception, invalid access token, and then let's print out whatever we sent here. So if access token is not equal to false and not equal to null, then let's take the shop details equals this get shop details from Shopify, and we can send this access token here, then we can send the shop name here. Yeah, so we will receive a shop JSON standard response here, which is this API right here, shop JSON Shopify. Yeah, we will receive this object right here. So retrieve the shop's configuration. So inside the shop index, we receive the columns that we defined. Okay. So then we can say this. So after we get the shop details, we need to create a database row with these details that we just got, the access token and the shop details. Okay, so let's handle that later. So let's do this function first. Private function this. Inside that I'll put the try catch first. In that I can say return false. So here I can say endpoint equals get Shopify URL for store, and then I can say shop JSON, and I can say shop. Then for the headers I can do get Shopify headers for store. Only at this point I think I cannot use this function because okay, I only need to send the content type application JSON. So I can say content type application JSON. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, application JSON, and after that you can say request body equals. Let's check out how Guzzle post. So I think it works with form params. So let's take that form params and let's keep that separate array, and inside that we'll have to send the client ID, we can say config custom.shopify API key, then the client secret, we can say config custom.shopify API secret, and the code we can just pass it here, code. So now that we have the form params thing ready, let's do this response right here. This make an API call to Shopify. The method is post. The endpoint is right here, endpoint. I think in the method I should start calling it not URL as an endpoint. Okay, URL params is null, headers, and at the last request body. So let's change this function a little. Endpoint. So let's do this right here, endpoint, and we're done. So previously we handled only the get case. Now we have the post case on our hands. So let's do that. Case post. Oh, I'm sorry. So if I already defined this here, then I don't need to define it on the forms param thing. I can just keep it a simple array like this. Yeah. So we can do response equals client arrow request method endpoint headers, and after that form params request body. Let's put that in one line. Yeah, and then the break statement. So that is how we will do it. So after I get this response, I'm not sure what I will receive here. So let me just log it right after I make this call. Response for getting the access token. Then I will log it. JSON code response. Yeah. So let's write some additional code into it. Let's assume that they will get the correct response. So if response status code equals 200, then what happens? The access token will be present on the parent. Okay. So I will do body equals response. Let me check that in request state. What do I return here? The body index. Okay. So let's check the body index. If is array body, if not is array body, then let's try to JSON encode it. Body equals JSON decode, I'm sorry, body true. So in this line I'm just verifying that the object I received is an array, and if it's not, it will convert it. Hopefully this JSON decode function works. And then I can say if is that body access token. I think that's how they spelled it, access token. Yeah, copy it here. And body access token is not equal to null, then return body access token. There we go, and here we can say return false, because if it doesn't execute, then we don't want to return anything from here. Okay, So after this happens, we get the access token response as we are expecting here. So this is what we should get back. And after that, we have the access token, so we can start making third-party API calls for the shop details. So let's define this function right here. So we have the shop, let me rearrange it. Yeah, copy it right here, and I will define another function. Private function, this right here. Inside that, let's put try catch. Return null. I'm sorry, I'll just put yeah, let's return null here, and if it causes any kind of problems, I want to log it right away. Problem getting the shop details from Shopify, and after that I'll do log info get message get line. Okay, so for getting the shop details from Shopify, we need to make an API call that will be this. Yeah, so we can say here admin API this shop JSON. We can optionally get the fields that we are targeting, but I don't want to do that. So let's just call the shop JSON itself. So I will copy this right here. Oh, I'm sorry, I made a mistake here. So for the access token, this is not the endpoint we want to have. So this is the endpoint we have to have. Now this breaks the signature of the third-party API call. So I think I need to take this right here, and I have to place out this function. I cannot use it here. So HTTPS, then shop, after that admin Auth access token. Yeah, there we go. So here I had to swap it out because the method signature is totally different. It doesn't follow the admin API then the API version signature. So that's why I had to hard code it here. But that's fine. Yeah. So let's carry on with it. Endpoint equals get Shopify URL for store shop JSON shop. Now we can pass the headers. Get Shopify head. I'm sorry. Headers for store. Oh, so it is expecting an array. A row. Okay. So let me see what I can do here. Store details access token. Let me do this. Yeah. So it is expecting something here that should have the access token index. So I can just pass in an array. Access token. Access token. Yeah. So this it will receive here, and yeah. So let's make the call. Response this make an API call to Shopify. I will say get, then I will say endpoint. After that, I don't want anything in the URL params, so then I can say headers, and after that null, because it is a get request, not a post one, so the request body can be null. And you know what, I can just do this. We don't have to specify the last parameters all the time. Yeah. So then we can say if response status code equals 200, else I will just log response received for shop details. And I will do log info response. If the status code is not equal to 200, then we might have to see what response did we receive exactly. So then I can check if not is array response body, and let's see. Okay, let's take this in a variable response body. If not is array body, then body equals JSON decode body comma true. Done. Yeah. So then we can try return body shop index. Yeah. I want to return the shop index because in the documentation they have mentioned that it is a JSON object we get back, but on the parent index we have a shop parameter, and inside that we get the actual attributes. So that is why I mentioned here. Yeah. Return body shop this, and we can say return null. And we can also do this because if the shop index itself doesn't exist, then as a replacement it will send null. So now that we have received the shop details as we can assume that we would, we can now create a payload that this arrow gets stored payload to save, I'm sorry, save store details to database. And we can send the shop details object right here, and then we can send the access token right here. Yeah. So after we get the shop details and the access token saved into our database, that's when the installation is complete. And after that, we can decide where we want to redirect the user after they finish up everything. So let me just create a route. So Shopify this. So I can say route get auth slash complete, and in the installation controller class complete installation, and I will name it app install complete. This is really not needed here. What we can do is we can redirect them to the login page, and we can say that installation is complete. Please log in through your store details. And what we could do is let me open up MySQL Workbench. Then we can say show tables. Yeah. So inside the users table, we can create a user entry, and with our predetermined password, let's say 123456, and we can keep it that way. So the user can be sent a mail that here is your generated password 123456. Just use your store's My Shopify domain and this password. So we don't really need this auth complete route here. I'm just creating it to show you that that the installation is complete at this point. So let me just define this function right here. request, and all I will do here is print out installation complete and exit. Yeah, so that's all I will do here. You can feel free to customize this. Yeah. Let me just add this comment right here. At this point, the installation is complete. So redirect the browser to either the login page or anywhere you want. Yeah. If I won't name this payload because it's a result of a database save operation. So I will just name it save details. So if save details is true, else throw new exception. I don't want to throw an exception here. I do want to see what happens. Log info, save details, info problem during saving shop details into the DB. Yeah. After that, I can say redirect to config app.ngrok URL dot Shopify /auth /complete. So here you would at this point the installation process is complete. Yeah, so feel free to customize this line right here, which I have put like this. So for the ngrok URL, then Shopify /auth /complete. Let me verify web.php auth /complete. Okay, then there we go. So let's define this function right here. Public function. So I can do try catch right here. Exception log info get message get line turn false. Oh, I'm sorry. Um, yeah. So at this point, I will have the message and error number. So here I can form a payload. So I will say access token. Then I can say my Shopify domain equals shop details my Shopify domain, and let's see what other columns we have. So let's see DSC stores. So we have the ID, name and phone. Let's do this. ID is shop details ID, name shop details name, phone shop details phone. What else? Address 1, address 2 and zip. Address 1 shop details address 1 address 2 shop details address 2, and at the last zip shop details zip. So now that we have our payload, then we can do store update or create. So inside this function, as in the first array and then the payload. And here I can say my Shopify domain, shop details, my Shopify, I'm sorry, my Shopify domain. Yeah, so this will create, I don't know why this store is showing this. Yeah, import it. There we go. So now we can say return true. Let me check for spelling mistakes. Address 1, address 2, zip. Yeah. This looks good. Yeah, so let me run PHP artisan optimize for finally, and let's see what happens when I click install. Invalid access token 80. So what happened here? Let me see. At line 80, I'm throwing this invalid access token. I think I got null here. So let's see what happens in this function right here. So let me open up the log file. Set body null. Okay, I got the code right here. Okay, so but it didn't tell me what the problem was. Cool. So maybe there was a problem here in form params. Might have to check. Maybe I should send JSON. Let's see what happens here. Because they do say here, if I just swap on JSON, let's see what happens. So now that I didn't even get the access token, that means I still don't have a row here. Select star from stores. So there is nothing here, but as a side, as an effect, if we go here and click on apps, then it does show my public app here. How do I remove this? Yeah, let's remove it. So let's try installing one more time. Let's go back to our partners account. And the overview part, let's select store right here. So let's see what happens install app. If I click it, then in the log file, what do I receive here? I didn't receive anything in the body. So what happened here? In the request rate, I do have a response. Oh, I should have received a message. Let's see if I received a message here. No, I only received status code and body. Huh. Uh, okay. This is quite weird. Getting no body back. Should I just get body? Should I just try JSON encoding this right here? JSON encode. Yeah. Now let's see what happens. Now that we have removed it, let's go back to partners account. I'll be honest here, guys, I'm facing a little bit of trouble with the code. So let's install the app. Now let's see what happens. In the log file, oh, result in a 400 bad request. Truncated. So what happened here? Okay, so I had to make some changes in the code. So in request rate file, I had to introduce this new method which uses the basic curl library, and I would make this function to request the access token. So on the headers, I had to make it a single index which will contain a simple string for content type application JSON, and in the request body I JSON encoded it, and after that I called this function with these three parameters right here. So let's check this out. What happens here? Yep. Here's my previous error message. So let me check the apps. Let me remove it. There we go. After I removed it, then let's go back to the partners account. Yeah, store. Then let's do this. After that, let's install the app. I don't know what happened here. The authorization code was not found or was already used. Okay, why did this error got thrown? might have to check when I create this request body. So let's block that also. Request body. So why did that error got thrown? Return false. And why did it leave it hanging? That is another thing I'm wondering. Shop details. So let's see. Should I problem during installation? Please check logs. Let me put this. So at least we want to get a hanging screen like this. Other thing that I'm seeing that this is opening in a embedded setting. So let me turn that off because that shouldn't happen for my app. Where is the embedded setting? Yeah, manage, and I want to disable it. Yeah. So now that we have done, let's overview it, and we do select store, and we do this. Install app. Let's check logs. Okay, so we did get the access token, but I think something happened getting the shop details, my Shopify domain of on object 12 and null 94. So what is line number 94 here? Okay, so in the shop details object, this got received as null. Okay, fine. So in the shop details, um, what happened here? So when I did response body, I quickly checked body is response body. So in response variable, what did I get? In response variable, I got status for 200 and body inside that access token. So then I did body is JSON default body true, access token, return body access token. Let me log it pretty quick here. Body here. Info body. If is array body and else I want to say log info type of object is get type body, return false. So let me remove these things. here. Or maybe I did get the access token correct here. Maybe it is the shop details where the problem happened. Let me delete this right here. After I get the response where I get the access token, so it is not equal to false and not equal to null. That is why it is coming here. So this shop details thing, this might be causing a problem. Response received for shop details. Yeah, right here. So response received. Problem getting the shop details from Shopify. So here, but there is no message and line. Trying to get property in my Shopify domain of non-object. Oh, cool, cool. So here it is my Shopify domain. So I should say this. And in the installation controller, I should say my Shopify domain shop. So now the second parameter is an array that got passed here, and there it can be the my Shopify domain, right? How could I miss this? PHP artisan optimize. Remove it. Let's go back to our app setup page. Overview. Select. Yeah. Now it should happen. Install. Now where's the problem? So should I just change the is int 11 and it says out of range for column ID at row 1. Hmm. Should I just make it float? PHP artisan. Okay, so in my migrations, I will put it as big integer, and here I would say alter table stores, change column ID begin 20 unsigned. So I should also say unsigned big integer. Yeah, default null after table ID. There we go. Let's try it out one final time, hopefully. Inside the apps, settings, remove. Yeah, let's go back to our partners account, select store, did it work this time? Let's see. So let's start from stores, and look at that. Now we have this working right here. So we have the access token. This is something here, the name of the store, the ID, the my Shopify domain, phone is not there, the address and zip, etc. But this got hanging here. So what happened here? Laravel log. There seems to be no problem here. So what happened? After we save it, we return true. Shopify Auth complete. Let me see if this URL even works fine. I don't know what happened here. Yeah, so this URL works, but for some reason it didn't reach here. So save details function. Oh, I'm sorry. I had to do return redirect. Yeah, that's when it will work. So let me just do one thing. Give a final test run. First, let's uninstall the app. Let me also delete from stores where table ID equals 1. Yeah, done. And yeah, go back to our partners account, test app, our project. Let's click install. And the installation is complete. And then now we can see a new row in the table. So let's start from stores. Yeah, right here. So now we have got it working. Now it should work fine. So let's so this is for the new installation flow. So let's work on the reinstallation flow. So in the reinstallation flow, what happens is somebody deletes the app from their Shopify store, but the record remains in your database. So let me go back to this and I click apps, general settings, and I will remove the app from here. So now the access token that was issued by Shopify, this access token has gone invalid right away. But the record is here. The store ID that Shopify identifies the store as is right here, and the domain is right here. So what happens if I now try installing the app? In an ideal condition situation, what should happen is none of the details should be edited, just the access token should be replaced with a new access token. So let's check our code. Where did we leave it off last? Okay, so here is the valid token part, and here is the not token valid part. Token not valid, I should say. Yeah. So this is the reinstallation flow that we are going to be looking at. So at this point, yeah. So after we check the validity, see what happens. Yeah. So if the token is valid, then I can just print that redirect token is valid in the database. So redirect the user to the login page. You can write the code here, but in my case I will just do a printer just to show you that this is the flow where the code will end up, so you can customize it as per your needs. Okay, so the not valid part. So in that case, we would have to send them to the new installation flow once again. So I will do this thing right here. I will copy this URL and I'll paste it right here. That's it. That's all we need to do. So here I can say the reinstallation of for shop for these scopes is happening, because yeah, let's test it out. PHP artisan optimize. Let's reinstall it while having a row in our database. So test app screen, we select again. Let's check the previous access token. It ended in 43D. So when we refresh this query, we should have a new access token in its place. So install app, installation complete. This is the old access token. Let's do a select star, and now it ends in 217. So we got our new access token, and now it is in the database. So that's all we had to do, and that covers the reinstallation flow. And now let's just say what happens when somebody just wants to open the app. So let's go back to the Laravel project myshopify.com. The store owner comes here, he sees this left panel, he clicks on the app, and then he clicks my second app. So here I say the token is valid in the database, so redirect the user to the login page. So this is how the new installation, the reinstallation, and the opening the app flow works in Shopify. Now we have covered all scenarios. If you stuck around till this far, thank you so much for doing that. Please ask any doubts that if you might have in the comments down below, and hit the subscribe button so I can create more videos like this. And in my next video, I will add this, not in my next video, in this video itself, in the description box, you can find the GitHub link where I will push this code, so you can take a pull on your system and check the code yourself. And who knows, probably make changes so you can create your own app. Anyway, whatever you do with it, please let me know. It was a joy making this video. Thank you so much. See you next time.